How many of you remember trying to figure out how to get the Knights of the Round materia or revive a certain character back when Final Fantasy VII launched? Back then, all we had were lame message boards and he said, she said websites, and you'd waste hours trying something just to find out it wasn't true. Thankfully, the internet has come a long way since then, and now we have Reddit. I use it every day, and it is the first place I go when I want to know what other people think of a game. Did anyone else get stuck at this part? Am I the only one that thinks this boss is cheap? Is this the best game of the year? Every time I have a gaming question these days, I hop into Reddit to see what the internet is saying, and you can find people talking about practically any video game ever made over there. It's wild. I'm always floored by how many subreddits there are, and it's not just for games, but portions of games, mods, cheats, tips, builds, reviews. It's wild. The r/gaming subreddit has more than 47 million members, but you can get as specific as you want. I'm a regular in the r/WWE2K, r/Habs, and r/retro gaming subreddits, and of course, I'm always in the legendary r/remember the game subreddit as well. One of my favorite things to do on Reddit is look up games when I finish them for the podcast and see what the gaming world's saying about them. It's like having millions of nerds to geek out with about anything you want. Easily one of the most used apps on my phone. I am on there daily. Download the Reddit app and dive into r/gaming for the latest gaming updates. Download the Reddit app today. All right, this is my third attempt at this intro, and we'll stay here all night if we have to. God damn it. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Remember the Game. It is my retro gaming podcast where every week a buddy of mine and I sit down and geek out about the games we played back in the day. My name is Adam Blank. Thank you so much for listening to the show. And this week it is episode 375, and I'm running solo, almost literally running solo, because I'm talking about the Adventure Island trilogy for the NES. And if you haven't played those, there's a lot of running in those games. Basically, that's the entire game, is running. I know that the Adventure Island games aren't necessarily the best known games on the NES, but we're covering them today for two reasons. One, I grew up playing and loving this trilogy, and frankly, the number of games that I grew up playing and loving that I can still talk about here on the show is getting pretty short, hence why over the last couple of years, it's really transitioned into more of a I play games for the first time and then talk about them on the show. But these are ones I grew up with that are near and dear to my heart. And the second reason I wanted to cover this trilogy on the podcast is because, in my opinion, the Adventure Island games are like, I don't know if I'd say full-blown hidden gems, but they're halfway hidden gems, you know? I don't know if they're straight up gems. They're good, not great games. And I don't know if they're totally hidden based on the comments. A few of you grew up with them. Not everybody did. But whenever you see like a list of people listing the best games on the NES or podcasts about the best games on the NES, the Adventure Island games very rarely, if ever, get mentioned. And I think that's wrong. I frankly think that they should. Maybe not the first one, but the second and third one at least. So if you've never played them, in all three of the games, you basically play as this pudgy caveman in a baseball cap, which could quite possibly be why I relate to him so much. And the levels are basically running and basic platforming and stuff like that. You can fight enemies. There's some boss fights, all that stuff. But the secret sauce of the Adventure Island games is that the timer for each level is actually your health bar. So it forces you to keep moving, because if you go too slow, you'll run out of health, which means you've run out of time, which means you die. Rinse and repeat. They're pretty tough games, as NES games should be. I like my NES games like I like my insert whatever you want here. But, well, that doesn't really work. I was going to say, very tough, very hard. But that saying inserted here and then saying very hard doesn't, whatever. I like my NES games tough. You know what I'm trying to say. And damn it, we're going to show them some love on the podcast this week. Like I said, I'm going to go solo this time around. And it's not often that we cover like an entire series or a group of games here on the show. I usually try to split it up as best I can. But if I tried to cover each of the three Adventure Island games for the NES on its own separate episode, it'd be very similar to the Tubin podcast from a few months ago, and that was unpleasant for everyone involved. So I'm just going to share my thoughts on this great trilogy of games altogether. I'll mix in some listener comments for seasoning, and we'll call it a show. And we'll get into all that in just a couple of minutes, because speaking of mixing in some listener comments for seasoning, it's time for another edition of the Remember the Game infamous intro. Dun, 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 dun. And if you're new to the podcast, welcome aboard. Consider this your warning. Your intros are kind of long. They're not that long. They're kind of long, but they're fun. We talk video games and stuff, and they're substantially easier to get through than the Adventure Island games are. If you wanted to skip them, just take the little slide on your phone, go to the 30-minute mark. You'll be into Adventure Island talk. Bada bing, bada boom. No need to bitch at me on the internet like some of you feel the consistent need to do. Bitch, bitch, bitch. I like my intros, so they're not going anywhere. I don't care. If you want a show with shorter intros, go listen to the Short Intro Podcast, all right? I like my intros like I was going to go back to that. I like my intros like I insert you whatever you want here. Long and hard. Anyways, go about the 30-minute mark. You get past them. It's all well and good. If you want to skip anything, skip the plug, which I'm about to do right now. If you'll indulge me for just a moment. I do have to do my plugs. It's how we keep our bills on around here. We have a Patreon. And it's pretty much how I pay my mortgage. And it's not like I'm just asking you for money for nothing. For free. I'm actually asking, shout out to the Buffalo Sabres. Like, Money for Nothing's their entrance song. And I just wanted to say last night, the Montreal Canadiens ended their season in heartbreaking fashion. And, well, I would have been heartbroken had I been on the other side of that overtime goal. I wasn't. And so I'm ecstatic. But for you Buffalo fans, good run. You earned that. You waited a long time for that. You'll be back next year. You're fine. You'll be fine. And now cheer for us as we try to take down Carolina, which I think is going to be a task, my friends. Anyway, what was I plugging here? Yeah, my Patreon. I'm not just asking you money for nothing. I give you podcasts in exchange for it. We publish up to 4 additional shows in the week. They have no ads in them. And you can start listening for as little as $3 a month. And not only are you going to get a bunch of additional podcasts with no ads in them to listen to, but you can also write into the podcast, vote on the games we cover, join our massive-ass Discord, and get instant access to hundreds upon hundreds of archive bonus podcasts with no commercials in them, including Remember the Game, all 375 episodes, time-stamped and ad-free, waiting for you over at Patreon. And I also stream Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. most days, schedule permitting. So if you're a Patreon, you can come by and check those out as well. And in addition to all those things, you get a shout out. You get to hear me mispronounce your name like I'm about to do to a couple of these people. And I had somebody ask, they were like, hey, I was gone for a while and I re-signed up and I didn't get a shout out. If you leave and then come back, I don't see it. Like when I go to my newest Patreons, like you show up based on the date like you first signed up. So if you left and then you came back with a new name and you're like, I didn't get another shout out, call it a loophole if you must, but they don't show up. Only brand new accounts show up on my list. Otherwise, I'd be going through the list every week trying to figure out who's new, and there's thousands. That's not gonna. Thank you to our newest Patreons: Walking Party Dog, my favorite kind; Joe Pickled Dillo, Had to Do This; Sean Lindeberg, Sexy Man; Duckman 3986. I hope that's a reference to the show. I used to love that fucking show. You thrust your pelvis. You thrust your pelvis. Isn't That a Daisy? Levoy Amos, Adam Fagee, Christian Brosso, and Jeff Kroc. Definitely butchered a couple of those, but thank you all so much for the support and welcome to Remember the Game Industries. You can find all of that at patreon.com/rememberthegame. There's some free episodes over there for you to try out if you want to see how it works. Again, the subscription started $3 a month, and we offer annual subs that'll give you your 12th month on the house, and we donate some of that money to charity as well. So it's basically just wins across the board. That's enough blowing myself. I've blown too much. Let's blow some of you by blowing in some cartridges. It is our opening segment here on the show. I read a few comments and questions from our patrons, usually gaming related, but not always, and we call this segment Blowing in the Cartridge.
He blows all right. He blows big time.
That's it, honey. Get into the spirit.
All right, let the world know that I can also blow. Let's see what some of you had to say. Nick Finnegan says, hey, Adam, my boy Flynn won an award for Most Improved Player at the end of his rugby season last weekend. Can you give him a big shout-out? I don't do big shout-outs, but shout-out to Mr. Flynn Finnegan for being the most improved player at the end of his rugby season. Man, you play rugby. That alone makes you tough. Plus a name like Flynn. Flynn's a tough name. Flynn playing rugby. I respect that. I'm Adam playing ball hockey. I'm a wuss. And I've never won most improved anything. So congratulations, Flynn. Good job. Well done. Not you, Nick. You haven't improved it a goddamn thing, but Flynn did it. Duke Skywalker said, listening to you on last week's Rambling Idiot, you touched on a point about games increasingly becoming more a part of your job than a hobby over the last few years. I was wondering how good it feels now when you get stuck in a game and it takes you out of that space back to the days when you just played for fun without any other considerations. Is the dopamine hit just as strong? It really is. That's a great point, Duke. And, just to clarify, if you're a newer listener to the show, I can't imagine Adventure Island brought a lot of new listeners into the show. If this is anybody's first episode, Leave a comment on Spotify. Let me know. I want to know if anybody was like, I was looking for an Adventure Island podcast, because this might be the only one. But I have mentioned before, now that I've been doing this for the better part of 8 years, games just don't quite hit like they used to. I still enjoy playing them, but it is more of a job than it is just a hobby at this point. But yeah, I do have games that they still just grab me by the balls just because I'm enjoying them so much. Actually, this year alone, Resident Evil Requiem, and now I'm playing Saros. I'm still not sure how to pronounce it. I'm only a few hours into Saros, but I loved Returnal, and I'm fucking loving Saros. Both of those games, Resident Evil Requiem and Saros, are just like straight up dopamine hits. Like, I'm just, every chance I get, I'm sneaking in a quick run of Saros. So I'm going to say both, Saros, because I just think it's fucking awesome. So there are definitely still games that grab me. It's just like, and even when a game doesn't completely grab me, I still enjoy playing games for the show. Even games I don't like, to an extent, I still enjoy playing them. It's just like there are times where I'm like, man, I would rather be playing a game I really love, but instead I'm not going to say a name, because if I do, it'll just fucking get someone angry, but yeah, some games still grab me. Like, video games will always and forever be my first love. You know, it's video games, professional wrestling, Shaylee. Not in order of how much I love them, but in order of my loves. That might be in order of how I love them too, but she doesn't listen. She'll never know. She doesn't listen to this show. Wog said, if you were to win one of America's big ass lottery winnings, say a few $100 million, what's the first thing you're doing? If you want an honest to God, serious answer, Wog, if I was to win $100 million, the first thing I would do is, respectfully, guys, is my social media would be gone. I'd probably do a couple more episodes of the show, maybe hand it over to somebody, and explain where I've been and say thank you to everybody and make a donation to charity on behalf of the podcast. A nice chunky donation as well. But I would be done with social media forever. Like, you'll know, because you'll go to like check out the Instagram or Twitter and it'll disappear. Social media is just the fly in the soup. Other than that, fun things. I'm buying a Miss Pac-Man machine, not an arcade one up, but an authentic Miss Pac-Man machine for sure. I'm going to get like 3 more dogs. And what's something else I've always wanted to? Oh, I'm buying a Ghostbusters Lego firehouse, brand new. All the resellers that are selling them for like $1,000 now. I might buy 3 of them just for the sake of like building 3 of them. That's first things I'm doing. Fuck yeah. And I'm going to some playoff games in Montreal for sure. Double T said, hey, Adam, I finally just finished Silent Hill 2 Remake. Great game. However, I found myself struggling to get the itch to turn it on for sessions. When I did, it was great and always fun, but since it's not normally the style of game I lean toward, I struggle to find that motivation even though I see the brilliance of it. Have you ever had any games in recent memory where you enjoyed it once you played them, but you found you almost had to force yourself to play it? Thank you. I have. You know, the game that came to mind for me for that right away is Doom the Dark Ages, because I really like Doom. I have yet to play a Doom I don't like. Even Doom 3. Like, Doom 3 is my least favorite, and even Doom 3 is fun. But Doom the Dark Ages, I was so jacked to the tits to play that game. And then I started playing it and was like, it's not without its charm. And when I would fire it up and play it for an hour, I'd have a good time. Like, I really liked the gameplay loop, and it was fun. But yeah, it was literally like forcing myself to sit down on my couch and pick Doom when I would fire up my Xbox. That's the most recent one that jumps into mind for me. That I just never feel like playing it, but whenever I do, I enjoy it. Cyberpunk is like kind of there, but I do have days where I feel like playing Cyberpunk. And then every time I do, I love it. But Doom, I don't know if I had a single session after my first one where I was like excited to play Doom. But then I don't know if I ever had a session where I turned it off and was like, well, that sucked. You know? So yeah, Doom the Dark Ages. And shout out to Silent Hill 2 Remake. That's a great game. I fucking love that game. Adam Fagee, I don't know how to pronounce your last name, my friend. Text me. Adam F. says, hey, Adam, longtime listener, first-time commenter. I am a fellow Adam, and growing up, I always found that there were a lot of kids that shared my name, which I found annoying. Recently, I was talking to a friend about this, and she remarked that Adam was a popular name when I was growing up, but she doesn't see many kids getting named that anymore, which I hadn't thought about, but realized it was true. Since I know you're from a couple console generations before mine, I was curious if Adam was a very common name among your peers, and how you felt about that. It was, yeah. Growing up in the 80s to the 90s, I knew tons of Adams. It's funny though. I've thought that before. I tried to write a comedy joke about that once. Names seem to go in like generations. You know, like there's like old names like Gertrude and Francis, and you just never hear those now. And then my generation with the Adams and stuff, you don't see people have cool names now, not Adam. No offense, Adam, but our name is kind of lame. We have a very vanilla name. So it is weird that names kind of go like whatever's hip at the time and whatever's generational. But yeah, I knew quite a few Adams growing up. It never bothered me. The whole reason I read this, sorry, this is a very long-winded answer, guys. The whole reason I read this is I wanted to shout out Adam Atkinson and Adam Wilson. And I'm 99% sure neither of them is listening to this podcast. But when I was in like junior high, I played a street hockey almost every day. And two of the guys that played in my street hockey game were Adam Atkinson and Adam Wilson, and I was Adam Blank. And so whenever the three of us were on the same team, we would always we just thought it was like the coolest thing that we were the three Adams. Even Adam Atkinson was our best player, and then of the three of us, and then probably me, and then Adam Wilson wasn't that good. Actually, Adam Wilson was kind of a douche, but he was an Adam, so we let him in. So shout out to the Adams, the Adam line. Good times. And shout out to all the Adams listening to this. You are a special people. RRKST9 says, Adam, of all the sports teams you're a fan of, if you could win one win a championship, which would it be? For the record, guys, I promise there's some video game questions in here too. I don't know. I'm in a good mood today. Adventure Island's not going to be the longest game review. I felt like having some fun. At this point, I'm really making a conscious effort to try to not read the hate comments. I don't care if people don't like the intro. I like doing it, so fuck off. I like the intro. If I could will one team I'm a fan of to win a championship, it's the Montreal Canadiens. It's not even close. I'm a Montreal Canadiens fan, a Tampa Bay Rays fan, a Denver Broncos fan. I've seen the Broncos win a Super Bowl 50, and that was pretty rad. I wasn't watching when Elway was winning, so I saw 50. I've seen the Rays get to the World Series and lose, and I would love to see a Tampa Bay Rays World Series, but I've only really been following baseball for about I missed their first World Series run. So I probably 12, 13, 14 years I've been following baseball. But I've been a Montreal Canadiens fan since right after 93 when they last won the Cup. About over 30 years. And in over 30 years, I've only seen them get to the third round 4 times, including this year. And I've only seen them get to the Cup final once. And that was the pandemic year where Tampa Bay fucking pushed our shit in. So go Habs. No championship I can imagine would mean more to me than seeing a Montreal Canadiens Stanley Cup. Oh my God. That would be insane. I don't even know what I'd do. It'd be fucking insane. Sexy Man says, hey, Wiener Lord, it's taken a long time, but I've caught up on your free feed backlog and joined the Patreon for a whole new backlog. Thank you, Sexy. Something you talk about now and then is how much you like to read and that you're currently reading it. Would you consider an expansion pass of your favorite books or books that remind you of games? I get asked a lot to do one about my favorite books or someone keeps suggesting we do an expansion pass about books that would make great games or something. I don't know if I know enough I do like to read, but off the top of my head, I don't know if I could think of enough books. I mostly read I read autobiographies and I read I was gonna say true crime fiction. That doesn't make sense. But fictional mystery novels. I'm a big Michael Connelly fan and stuff like that. And I don't know how well they would translate to video games. So I've been asked about that. I don't know if I'm the guy that could host that podcast. But on the Rambling Idiot, I do blank ranks every couple of weeks where I'll just rank random things. And if I haven't already done it, maybe I could do a book ranking over there. Because I do like to. I need to find more time to read. I spend most of my spare time playing video games. I've been reading it for 6 months. Great fucking book. I'm in the home stretch. I have less than 200 pages left. I gotta finish it. Great fucking book. That's Stephen King, man. He might stick. He might have a future in this industry. Tanuki says, Dear Adam, you've been no secret for your love of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. As a fellow shellhead, I was wondering if you've read the IDW comics, and if so, what are your thoughts? I adore them, but I'd like to hear what you think. I have read them, Tanuki. I actually collect the hardcover collection, the anthologies. I'm in 6 or 7 right now. I haven't read them in quite a while. So I'm around issue 80 or 90, somewhere in there. I love them. I frankly think outside of the original 1990 movie or the 03 and 12, both the 03 and 2012 series are very good. Outside of those, it's probably the best thing the Turtles have ever done. The IDW comics. At least I don't know how they end, but at least the first 70 or 80 issues have been fucking fantastic. If you're a Turtles fan, highly recommend checking them out. They're very, very good. Different origin story, but that's fine. I don't care about that. They're really fucking good. Highly recommend checking them out. Really enjoying them. Yeah, there you go. And then, somebody else, I missed it, but someone else had wrote in asking how do you read those giant hardcover books? Cause they're not easy to lay in bed and read. I read them on the couch. I read them downstairs in my basement when I'm going to read them. Cause yeah, they're not comfortable to read in bed. They're too big. It's like reading a phone book. And finally, before we move on, it's letter time. It's letter time. We'll talk a little bit of video games here. Matt McLean says, hey, Adam, I was listening to your review of Mouse PI for Hire, and you said you wish there had been a demo, even though you wouldn't have played the demo to begin with, which is true. That got me thinking, have you ever thought Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo should rent games, pay like $9.99, and it's available for maybe 5 days? You get to see if you like the game, and it might entice you to make a purchase. I like the concept of that. I think that's a fascinating concept. I couldn't think of another word for concept, but I'm intrigued by it, Matt. I wonder, and I'm not trying to like poo-poo your cereal and be like, here's why it'll never happen, because I'd be intrigued by that. If Mouse PI for Hire had been available for like $9.99 and you get it for X amount of days or whatever, I probably would have rolled the dice on it. Frankly, there's a few games I'd probably roll the dice on. I wonder if the major concerns with it are, and I don't know enough about tech, so maybe I am talking out of my ass. Maybe this makes no sense. But like, what if people do that and then they're ripping the full game code or whatever? Can they do that and then put it up on the internet for every? Because like, there's fucking pieces of shit out there stealing brand new games and playing them as it is. If somebody rents it, are they able to then do that with it? Also, like, what if somebody rents it, marathons? I think you'd have to put like a certain amount of hours, but I think that's probably the way it would work. Like maybe $9.99 to get 30% of the game or something. Because if you make it the full game, people might be beating it and uploading the full playthrough online, and then no one else is touching it. Maybe they're stealing it. I don't know. I like the idea. I don't know if video game rentals work in 2026. Like back in the day when you'd rent like an NES game, there was no internet to go and like upload a full playthrough of and put it on the internet. And they've like famously said that's why a lot of NES games are so tough, is because they were beatable so quick, and they wanted to make sure people weren't renting them and beating them in a weekend. So they had to jack up the difficulty to delay the inevitable. And obviously that wouldn't happen so much now. Like if a game is fucking 20, 30, 40 hours long, I mean, somebody could pay $9.99 and beat a 40-hour game in 5 days. But if it was like, say, you pay like, you pay like, $9.99 or $7 or something like that. You get like 25% of the game or something. Like I don't know. Would people do that? Like if you got like an extended demo, you don't get the full game, you can't beat it. And then you apply that toward the full price. I think that's the way to go, is like, so say it's not, say a full game is $80, right? So say you can pay like $9 for 20% of the game, and you can play through that, and then it's like, hey, do you want to continue? Then you can then apply the 9 to the 80 and then buy the rest of the game or drop it. Like I know they do demos now, but you have to play 2 or 3 hours. Maybe they give you like a solid quarter of the game. To me, that's interesting, because there's a lot of games that I'll get through 25% of and then never go back to. I don't know. You can't give them a chance to finish the game for that rental price. And you can't give them the full game and chance them like taking it. But if you were given like a meaty portion for a fraction of the full cost and then applying that to the full price of the game, that could maybe help your sales. Maybe that's, might be onto something. Let's talk to I've got connections at Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo, Matt. And when I say connections, like if you go to their websites, there's like contact us emails. So let's reach out to them and we'll see what we can fucking do. That's a fascinating idea. I'm curious what the listeners think of that. But we got to keep the ball rolling. We still have more segments to get to. The intro is infamous, but it can't be infinite. So let's switch things up and get to our official game show of Remember the Game Industries Play 1, Remake 1, Erase 1. And a huge thank you to Classic Concentration from the NES for unknowingly providing us with the theme music for the show. The rules are simple. Every week I give our patrons 3 retro video games. They can play one as it was released, remake one as a modern game, and the third is erased from time forever. As always, there are no wrong answers, but there's a right one. I'll tell you what that is in just a minute. This week we're talking the Adventure Island games, so I went with 3 other Hudson Soft NES games, and it's Milon's Secret Castle, Princess Tomato in the Salad Kingdom, and The Adventures of Dino Ricky. Ricky? I like Ricky. Ricky sounds Ricky. And maybe because it was 3 niche games and not as many people voted as they do when there's a popular game in there. But this was very, very close. All 6 combinations were between 13 and 21% of the vote, which is very cool. But the winner with 21% was Play Mylon Secret Castle, Remake Dino Riki, and Erase Princess Tomato. So let's see what a few of you had to say here, and then I'm going to tell you what the right answer was. SSJ Will 4 says, Mylon Secret Castle seems like it could use some polish to make it more accessible, so I'll remake that one. I'm down for some wacky off-the-wall humor, so I'll play Princess Tomato. Unfortunately, that means Dino Riki is going extinct. That's a good start because it's just sound logic all the way around. Makes a lot of sense. I don't agree with your order, but I don't have a problem with it. Jamie said, play Princess Tomato, one of the best adventure games on the NES. Too nostalgic to remake, so I will play it. Remake Mylon. Is it Mylon or Milon? I'm going Mylon. Tune the difficulty and add more depth to the puzzles, and then erase Dino Riki, the least unique of the three, so it's an easy choice. I mean, it is definitely the least. Princess Tomato is so far and away. Princess Tomato, I'll get you my answer. That might be one of the most unique games on the NES. I'll get there in a minute. My Lufa is a Fupa. Says, I would play Dino Riki because that game is great the way it is. Good music, fun, and challenging. I would delete Princess Tomato because of the name alone and also everything else about it. It's everything. Fair enough. I'll remake Mylon Secret Castle because I do think it has potential and I feel like it was rushed like this same company made Bomberman and Island Adventure Island. What were you thinking with this one? Okay, I'll say my thoughts here. One more and I'll tell you what the right answer is. Greg Roop says, play Milton's Secret Castle. I love how it auto-corrected some of you. I like Milton. Play Milton, because then I think of the guy from Office Space. And it's his game. I think that was his name. I haven't watched that movie in a couple years. Play Milton's Secret Castle because I have to know what his secret is. Remake Princess Tomato into an actual tomato salad because he doesn't need more fiber in their diet. And erase Dino Riki at the risk of accidentally erasing the Flintstones, which is famously based on this game. I read your comment, A, because I've never had someone remake a game into a food, and B, because it triggered me just a hint when you said that the Flintstones, which existed years and years before The Adventures of Dino Riki, is based on The Adventures of Dino Riki. And I respect your trollingness. But I'm actually going, 21% of you got it right. I'm going with the majority this week. 20% of you got the right answer, as did Nick Squires, who said play Mylon Secret Castle because it has a cool cover. Remake Dino Riki into a 2D platformer where Yoshi is the final boss. And erase Tomato because tomatoes are disgusting. And I shan't stand for any tomato slander in my community, so double secret probation. Nick Squires, grow up. Tomatoes are delicious. I don't understand how so many people out there like ketchup but hate tomatoes. I mean, I get it, because ketchup's just sugary goo. But if you told me right now, for the rest of my life, I have to choose between eating tomatoes or eating ketchup, I'm taking tomatoes. Tomatoes are fucking good eats, man. Oh, buddy, you've never had a bacon tomato sandwich? Oh, you toast up some bread, put some mayo on there, salt, pepper, thick, crispy bacon, and then just some slices of tomato. Better than sex. Better than sex. So I don't agree with your reasoning, but I do agree with your order, Mr. Squires. I'm going to play Mylon Secret Castle because I don't think I ever have. I don't think. I recognize the box art, that horrible blue box. I don't think I've ever played that one. And I like puzzle games, so I'm going to play it, see if it's any good. And then up until last week, I would have probably remade Princess Tomato into something good and erased Adventures of Dino Riki. But I played Adventures of Dino Riki on my NES Roulette Patreon stream on Friday. And that's just like a scrolling shooter. Think like Gunsmoke, so many of those other ones. Like it's just you're just scrolling toward the top of the screen, shooting at everything that comes at you. And I fucking adore those types of games. So now that I've played it, I'm remaking this. Modern graphics, more levels, more everything. And it's going to be fucking awesome. And then I'm going to race Princess Tomato in the Salad Kingdom because I rented that game as a child after seeing it in a magazine. And it's kind of like a point-and-click adventure game. Like all the options like take, use, open are on the sides of the screen. And you basically go through this like world where everything is a talking fruit or vegetable. And I thought it looked so cool in a magazine, and then I rented it and it made me feel dumb. And nobody makes a fool of Adam Blank. So I'm erasing Princess Tomato and the rest of those stupid vegetables. And that is the right order. Thank you, everybody that wrote in and played along as always. What have I been playing over the last, I guess it's been 2 weeks since we did one of these. And then we'll get into the Adventure Island trilogy. I've been playing the Adventure Island games. I'll tell you all about that in just a minute. Very excited to talk about that. I finished Pragmata on my PS5, Capcom's game. Very good. I'll be reviewing that on Expansion Pass tomorrow for patrons. Last week I reviewed Mouse PI for Hire. This week I'll be reviewing Pragmata. Very, very good game. Now I'm playing Saros from Housemarque, the makers of Returnal. Fucking love it. Fucking love it. If Resident Evil Requiem is my game of the year right now, Saros is a very close second. In the early going. We'll see how it is by the end, but I fucking love that game. And then I'm still chipping away at Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess and Oblivion because I need to do episodes of those. And I'm probably going to start... Oh, man, there's like Lego Batman is out this week. I'm probably going to have to wait on that one. I am kind of interested in trying Forza Horizon 6 because I've never played a Forza before. And it's like got the best reviews of any game this year. So I might download it off Game Pass and just see what it's all about. But Mina the Hollower is the next big one on my list. I cannot fucking wait for that game. Oh yeah, and the 007 game's out right away. I might wait on that one a bit. I might try it, but just too much to play. I'm also just too much to fucking play, you guys. Oh my God. Oh yeah, and then I've been on Twitch a little bit working on my Battletoads run. I'm going to beat that game or fucking die trying. Like, one of us is going to die. It's going to be me or Battletoads on the NES. One of them is going to end. And I will see the end of that fucking game. All right, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to take a break, let a sponsor in, let them pedal aware. I'm going to play an old retro video game ad. And when we get back, just as I timed it, right around the 30-minute mark, it is all about the Adventure Island trilogy on the NES. Remember the Game will return after these messages.
Master Higgins is back in Adventure Island 2. This time, he's not alone in his quest to save his beloved. Various prehistoric friends will help Higgins defeat his fiendish foes. Adventure Island 2, the premier action-adventure game. By Hudson Soft.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and it's important to remember that whatever you're dealing with, you don't have to do it by yourself. I've been very vocal about some of my struggles away from the podcasts, and buddy, I'll tell you, when you have something keeping you up at night, the entire world feels like it's on your back. I'm very fortunate to have people around me that I can talk to when I need an ear to bend, but I know that unfortunately that just isn't the case for everyone. If you feel like you have no one to talk to, therapy could be your answer. BetterHelp has helped over 6 million people talk to therapists around the world. You just fill out a quick questionnaire to let them know what's keeping you up at night, and they match you with one of their over 30,000 therapists, all fully licensed in the U.S. You can meet with your therapist online, and if your pairing isn't a fit, you can switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. You don't have to be on this journey alone. Find support and have someone with you in therapy. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/rememberthegame. That's betterhelp.com/rememberthegame. All right, let's get into the Adventure Island trilogy. As always, I'd like to let some of you nerds sound off before normally my guests and I hog the microphone, but because I'm rolling solo this week, I'm actually going to read some of your comments here, and then I'm going to read some more of your comments during the game reviews because I don't have any friends to talk to this week. So I'll talk to some of you. You're my friends that pay me $3 to talk to me, as my normal real-life friends should have to fucking do. The goggles do nothing. Said I had one of those TV Boy knockoff consoles in the early 2000s. They were huge here in the UK. You could get them from high street shops full of games, copyright be damned. They used to sell those at like West Edmonton Mall and stuff too. With like the fucking bootleg NES controller with like 4 buttons on it and shit. Those were everywhere. Anyway, Goggles says, it was my first introduction to Adventure Island. I'd never had an NES and never played Super Adventure Island on my SNES. I hate SNES. SNES. I hate saying SNES. It absolutely kicked my ass. I struggled for hours, but I went back to it constantly. I had a PS1 and a GameCube at this time, and I kept coming back to this fucking game. A testament to how good it was. Come to think of it, I don't think I ever managed to beat it. Guess what I'm doing tonight? I'm going to guess beating it. The game. You know what? If it makes you feel better, Goggles, I'm about to review 3 of them. I've never beaten any of the original Adventure. I've never beaten an Adventure Island game because the only 3 I've played are the NES ones. I've never beaten any of them. They're fucking hard. I get it, buddy. Holmes said I should try to do the Holmes voice. These games take me back to my childhood every time I see them. The Adventure Island games hold a special place in my heart because, like I wrote about Bubble Bobble several years ago, I played them with my grandmother. I don't recall ever beating one of those games like I do Bubble Bobble, but the music instantly takes me back to the early 90s, sitting on the floor eating Pop-Tarts and drinking Kool-Aid, listening to my grandma complain about falling into yet another hole. Good times. That's my Holmes impression. If you've never heard Holmes, this is about the most sultry voice you've ever heard in your life. Shout out to anyone that gamed with their grandmas. I wish one of my grandmas had played video games with me. Those things are a waste of time. I wish one of my... Rest in peace to both my grandmas. I wish one of them would have played video games with me. Dale Cope says, it was only recently that I realized I had played and loved Adventure Island 3. My family had an NES and would randomly rent video games from our small video store. I remember loving a little platformer that had, according to my memory, a caveman and dinosaurs. I originally thought it was a Genesis game because I remember the decent graphics and the fire salamander boss. A few months ago, I saw a gameplay of Adventure Island 3 and was finally happy to get the name and I plan to replay it soon. I won't go as far as to say it looks like a Genesis game, but especially Adventure Island 3, it's a good-looking NES game. One of the best-looking NES games. 100%. Maybe not Genesis good, but, I mean, who is Genesis good-looking, really? Osama Bin Laden said, I remember hearing about Crystalis and how awesome it was. Dumb fuck child me, I rented Adventure Island thinking it was Crystalis. I have no idea if Adventure Island is good or not, but I hated it for deceiving me. I read this to openly mock you on a public forum, Osama Bin Laden, because Crystalis and Adventure Island aren't spelled the same. They barely even have the same letters in them. They don't look the same. And the fact that you got them mixed up makes me chuckle. So keep fighting the good fight, Osama Bin Laden. Keep fighting the good fight. Those aren't even close. I can understand if you wanted, like, Crystalis and you rented, I don't know, Kickle Cubicle, maybe. I know that's still off, but I can't think of another game with Crystal in this title. But like Crystalis Adventure Island, those. Ooh. I hope you got that shit worked out, my friend. Jigsaw says these games were as revered as Mario games in my neighborhood, maybe even more because we could not beat them. And I only read that because that's high praise. I love the Adventure Island games. I would not put them ahead of my beloved Mario. Maybe Mario's missing. Probably Mario's missing. But I want to know where you grew up because you guys have good taste in video games. Let's talk about the Adventure Island trilogy on the old NES, right? That's what we're here for. I'm going to cue up some Adventure Island music. And when it stops, I'm going to tell you all about Adventure Island 1 from 1988, Adventure Island 2 from 1991, and Adventure Island 3 from 1992 for the NES. Enjoy the episode, everybody. Here we go. So the rare episodes that I do by myself, I don't actually record the video game chat before the intro or after the intro. Like when I do them with one of my guests, I'll do the intro usually Tuesday afternoon. We do the game chat whenever we get a chance and I plug them together. But now I'm doing this all in one big mouthful of a sandwich. And so I get to hear the music like literally as it fades out and as it fades in and as I'm recording it. And dude, I never even had it in my notes to talk about the soundtrack to the Adventure Island games, and if I don't bring it up now, I'll forget. Those are good tunes. Like the two songs you guys have heard so far are really good, and I have one more coming still. That's really good, and it was hard to pick three to put into this game. Like I'm not gonna say there's a ton of NES games that are best known for their soundtracks, but there's obviously some. The Marios are fine. Mega Man to me is the best soundtracks, not only in the NES, but maybe the history of video games. You get like the chiptune versions of the Disney themes with DuckTales and Chip and Dale and stuff like that. But for like original tracks, the Adventure Island songs fucking bang, man. And when you're playing them, a lot of these games, like half the levels in the game are set in like tropical islands or jungles or whatever the fuck. And then you're listening to this music and it just really very summertime. I don't know why. I think of these games as like summertime games. So shout out to the soundtracks. I don't think, as we're about to break down, I don't think there's any one thing that I objectively like find a flaw in. Well, there's one minor thing that I find to be a flaw of the Adventure Island games. I think the problem is just that like they don't do anything super. What's the word I'm trying to think of? Man, I suck at this today. I'm like 3 weeks off weed, and I thought my brain would be back by now, and it's not. Like they're just like, there's nothing they do like magnificently. They knock it out of the park better than anything else, but they don't really do anything all that bad outside of the one kind of trial and error aspect of them, which we'll talk about a little bit. Like I said, I want to read some of your comments in these as well. Larry White. You mean Barry White? No, it says here Larry White. Says, these are some of those games that just remind me of being a kid with my NES. The box art will always remain in my memory. The bright, colorful graphics remind me of being an 8-year-old. It is oozing with nostalgia and makes me reminisce of the good old days, carefree and living life with no responsibilities. Kind of depressing, actually, but it always puts a smile on my face. I gotta go. There is something in my eye. It's probably your finger. Yeah, same here. I mentioned it in the infamous intro. After 375 episodes, I'm not saying there are no games left that I grew up playing that we haven't reviewed on the show, because that's not the case. But the list of games that I could review without replaying them is getting a lot shorter. And specifically when it goes back to the NES and the Super Nintendo, like the two hallmarks of my childhood, we have covered a vast majority of the games that I grew up playing as a kid, but this is one that we haven't. And I kind of forgot about it, and I'm ashamed of that. The only one we owned growing up, we had Adventure Island 3. And I'll never forget that, like, the box art where you've got Mr. Higgins or whatever his name is, Master Higgins. That's the name of the fat caveman with the baseball cap, Master Higgins. The cover of Adventure Island 3, he's sitting on like that green triceratops holding his like axe, his stone axe, and it's got like some yellow in the background and stuff, and that just like pops to me. And then we always used to rent Adventure Island 2, and I think of that as well. And I mean, when I started this podcast all those years ago, my initial intention of Remember the Game was to just focus on nostalgia and taking you back to the good old days and the games we grew up playing as kids and stuff like that. And this was really special, man. I had forgot all about these. And then Adventure Island 3 came up on an NES roulette stream we did a few weeks ago. And I was like, oh man, I haven't played that since I was a kid. And I started playing it and it all just came flooding back to me. And from that minute, I was like, we're doing an episode on this soon. And I have so many memories of these. And I agree with you, Larry. Like, there's just something to be said for those games. It doesn't matter if you grew up with the NES or the Super Nintendo, or if you're one of you youngsters that grew up with like the GameCube, PS2 era. Fucking kids. Going back to that system you played when you were just, 8, 9, 10 years old, it will always be special to you. If anyone's listening to this way off in the future and you grew up like maybe you're 8 years old playing PS5, playing Fortnite and shit on PS5. Someday when you're playing your PS8 and you got a bad back and you're 50 years old, you're going to remember this and be like, man, I remember my PS5. Those were simpler times, just dodging predators on Roblox. And I don't know if you play that on PS5 or whatever, but I grew up with these as well. So these are very nostalgic to me as well. If you've never played them, I'll go through the basic premise of the game. 1 is a lot more basic than 2 and 3 are, but the basic premise of the game is you play as Master Higgins, who, as I mentioned in the intro, is this chubby caveman with a baseball cap, which again, maybe why he lands so close to my near and dear to my heart. And they're basic platformers. You're running from left to right, you're jumping on platforms, you're dodging enemies. You don't start out with any kind of weapon, so there's really no way to play defense. You're just literally jumping. You just run and jump. That's all you can do. But then pretty early on in a lot of levels, you'll find an axe, a stone axe. And then you have infinite throws of that thing. And it just goes arcing out in front of you. And that's how you take out enemies. And it's basically just get from one side of the level to the other side of the level, rinse and repeat. And then eventually you'll fight a boss. And then you'll move on to the next world. And so on and so forth. And that's really, like, when you hear it described that way, I know it doesn't really sound all that special. And it's not like there's a great story to any of these. All 3 games just revolve around Master Higgins running through worlds, trying to save a damsel in distress at the end from like dinosaurs and aliens and all kinds of fucking weird creatures. And when you just hear it described like that, I know it probably doesn't sound all that great. There are a couple of power-ups. You get the axe that you can throw. And then once you have an axe, if you find another egg, because that's where all your items come from, are just these giant eggs that are laying around. And if I could, that's the one flaw, in my opinion, that I have in these games, is there's no way to know what is in an egg until you open it for the first time. And they're not randomized. Like if an egg is an axe, and then once you have your axe, it upgrades to fireballs or a skateboard or whatever, then it will always be the axe upgraded to the skateboard or the fireballs or the boomerang or whatever. But one of the items you can get is an eggplant, which is bad because it's Master Higgins' least favorite food. And whenever you draw an eggplant out of an egg, then it will follow you around and drain your health for a short time. But what's bullshit is that there's just no way to know that an egg is an eggplant until you've played through the level and you remember you're like, oh yeah, when I'm in World 4, that egg is an eggplant. Don't crack that one. And I gotta be honest, man, like I know we let a lot of shit slide when it comes to NES Tough and NES Cheap. I know I do because I'm a sucker for NES Tough and NES Cheap, but that's bullshit. To just straight up, there's no indicator. It's not like to me, it would have been more fair if they had put the eggplant in like a giant egg and then you had to dodge the giant egg. And if you cracked it, then you get, inflicted with the eggplant. But no, you're just like, man, I don't have a weapon. I could really use it. Because, like, dude, if you don't have a weapon in this game, if you don't have an axe, you have to crack every egg you find. Like, you can't, maybe the first few levels you can run through without a weapon, but very quickly you are going to need a weapon. And so then you have to crack eggs looking for the eggs. And then when you fucking crack one and happen to draw that stupid eggplant instead, it doesn't usually kill you. It just drains about half your health. But it's fucking horseshit. And I don't like that aspect of it. So if I have one criticism of it, and it wouldn't bother me if it was randomized, like if it was a roguelike too. If every egg just had a random thing in it, like Toe Jam and Earl style. But the fact that they're just like every time you hit this egg, it's an eggplant is fucking bullshit. But that's really my only major gripe with the games. It's other than that, I think they control not perfect, but well enough. He jumps when I hit the button. He throws an axe when I push the button. I never run into, considering the games move very quickly, and we're going to talk about why they have to move so fast in a second. Even playing the very first one, which isn't half as good as 2 and 3, I never ran into any instances of like stuttering or slowdown like you would get in, say your Mega Mans and those types of games. It always ran smooth. It always sounded great. The backgrounds looked good. The enemies looked good. You never really are at any confusion as to who or what you can interact with. Like, they're very polished, well-made games outside of that bullshit eggplant. Fucking eggplant. Other than that, they play really well. And the other hook to these games is that, like, they're very tough, but at a glance, they seem easy. Because the enemies, there's not a ton of enemies coming at you at any given time, which probably helps with the lack of slowdown and stuff like that. Most of the enemies that are coming at you, you can kill in one shot with the axe. There are some enemies, especially in the first one, that are such horseshit. Like those fucking bats and those frogs that'll go up and down, and they can be very difficult to hit with the axe. But most enemies, you can kill them in 1 or 2 hits with the axe. It's really not that big a deal. You can stop, and they move at you. Like, most of the enemies are basically sedentary. They don't move, or if they do, they barely fucking move. And so you might be thinking, well, then, like, why is it so tough? I'm looking for the comment here. Brandon DeZeba wrote in and said, these games bring back some memories. Love the platforming, colorful graphics, and riding on that skateboard. I wasn't a huge fan of the time mechanics, though. So the time mechanic, I love the time. I get why it's not for everybody. I love the time mechanic in these games. And that's the secret sauce, in my opinion, of Adventure Island. You don't have a timer in the traditional sense of a Mario or whatever, where, like, you run out of time, you die, blah, blah. In these ones, you can take as long as you want, but your health meter takes up like a sizable portion at the top of the screen, and it just drains. And I think it basically is supposed to represent, like, Master Higgins' appetite, because it just constantly drains. Like, as you're just going through a level, doesn't matter if you're going really slow or really fast, that health meter it might go faster if you're running faster. I'm not 100% sure on that, but either way, it literally is draining as you're going through the level, and there's constantly fruit popping up everywhere and vegetables, and you can grab them as you're running through the air, and they'll refill your health meter. And so that's where a majority of the challenge of these games come from. If there was no timer and you could just very gradually make your way through the game and throw axes at bad guys as they come close to you that barely move, you could probably beat this game in a weekend without even really breaking a sweat. But it's the fact that fucking health meter at the top of the screen is constantly ticking down. You really are forced a lot of the time to kind of hold run and move your chubby caveman ass, because if you run out of health, you'll die. So you're constantly running, trying to pick up more fruit and vegetables and things. And then when you do hit an enemy, it's one-touch kills. The enemies won't take away part of your health meter. The enemies will just straight up kill you. So you're competing with falling into pits, you're competing with touching a single enemy, and you're competing with the timer/health bar at the top that you need to eat food to refill. And that's why the eggplant drains it, because that's your least favorite food. So if you get the eggplant, and that's the other problem with that fucking eggplant, this might be the most anyone on any podcast has ever ranted about their disdain for an eggplant. And I don't think I've ever actually eaten eggplant. It doesn't sound that bad. I like eggs. Like somebody mentioned in the chat the other day when I was playing this, whenever I think of eggplant, all I think of is the obvious jokes that come from the emoji. But when that eggplant, when you draw it out of an egg, it doesn't just like take 4 bars off your health. He just flies behind you with a fucking Oscar the Grouch looking expression on his face. And it just makes your health drain like almost instantly, like every 3 or 4 seconds, like just pop, 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 pop. So it won't kill you instantly, but you got to haul ass to go find more fruit and vegetables to refill your health meter. But while you're doing that, you got to dodge the fucking enemies. You got to dodge the holes. And that's where the fucking challenge comes from. And make no mistake, friends, these games are tough. I've been playing these games for literally over 30 years. If Adventure Island 3 came out in 1992, then we probably got it in 1992 or 1993. So it's literally 30 plus years I've been playing these fucking games, and I have yet to beat any of the original trilogy because they are vicious. The Great Game Sage said I played the trilogy but never beat a single one of them. These games were super hard. Chucklewagon said my coworker and I played the hell out of the first one. We worked out of town at Sylvan Lake, by the way. Shout out Sylvan Lake. We tried to progress further and further each evening after work. We finally got to the last world. The cleaners came during the day and turned off the console. We had to grind through it again, but we eventually beat this beast of a game. Great control, solid gameplay, very challenging. That's one of my favorite things about playing NES. You can leave an NES on for days and it won't even hurt anything. Probably takes up like no power. Doesn't fucking matter. Shout out to the NES. I've been trying to beat these games. We even used the Game Genie. Shout out to the Game Genie on Adventure Island 3 when we were kids, and I still couldn't beat this fucking game. Like, these games will massacre you. And it's funny because the first couple levels start out not easy, but like easier. They're like, you can do. Well, okay, let me backtrack on that, okay? Adventure Island 1 is so much different than Adventure Island 2 and Adventure Island 3. 2 and 3 have like additional power-ups and stuff, and we'll talk more about 2 and 3 in a minute. But Adventure Island 1, I remember we rented it a couple of times when we were kids, and I was like, this one, like, I can't, even now, dude, I'll fire up Adventure Island 1 now, and I'm lucky if I can get through, like, 6 stages. Like, it is just, the levels are super long, you don't have half as many power-ups, it's classic NES stuff, like playing Mega Man 1, like Mega Man 2, they were like, all right, let's make it a little bit more beatable. Mega Man 1 will feed you your ass, and it's the same thing with Adventure Island 1. I can get pretty far into Adventure Island 2 and 3 on limited replays getting ready for this episode. In fact, when I'm done Battletoads, I think I'm going to dive into the Adventure Island trilogy and at least beat 2 and 3 and finally exercise those demons from when I was a kid and get them off my plate. But Adventure Island 1, like, I'm fairly confident I'll never be able to beat that fucking game because it's just your health meter goes so fast and there's just so many bullshit fucking enemies. Those fucking snakes. You come across these fucking snakes and sometimes they'll just stand there and do nothing. Sometimes they'll spit fireballs at you and sometimes they'll jump, but you won't know they'll jump till you get to them and then you try to jump over them because the game hasn't given you a fucking axe to use to fight the snakes, and then when you jump, they jump, and that one hit fucking kills you, and it doesn't matter that you ate all the fruit, kept your fucking health bar full, you got touched by a snake. Wah wah. Back to the fucking beginning. That first game is so fucking difficult. And you want to know something? I do like the second and third better, which we'll talk about more here in a second. But part of me, like the masochist in me, kind of enjoys it when Adventure Island 1 just kind of humiliates me because it's NES stuff by every fucking qualifying factor. It is NES stuff. It'll fuck you up, man. But it is really fun. Like I say, they add more items, better graphics and everything. Even the first one looks a little bit basic. I do love the graphics, though. One of the things I love about it is when Master Higgins is running, like I said, he kind of has like you know how I would describe what Master Higgins looks like? For you, I know we must have a couple of Simpsons fans that listen to this. Do you remember the hockey episode where Uter is running through the dressing room and Homer's like, that kid's got bosoms, and he's, don't make me run, I'm full of chocolate. Like, Master Higgins looks like Uter, but with a baseball cap and a grass skirt on. No shirt, no pants, no socks. And he just has that like chubby body, and his legs just move like his upper body is like stationary, but he's got these tiny 2 little legs that are just like just running. And even that alone looks really good. And then when you throw your axes, especially in the second and third one, which came out toward the end of the NES lifespan, they almost put a little bit of like 3D in there. Like, he'll kind of turn his body and like really just heave her, and they look really cool. One of my favorite things about this game is you can get a skateboard. And a couple of you have written in or mentioned the fucking skateboard. Rock Chalk said the skateboard has to be one of the worst power-ups in any game. All it did was force you to do the level without stopping, making it 5 times harder. Of course, I got it every time. There was also something oddly satisfying about throwing hammers at the rocks. So yeah, when you have an axe, in 2 and 3, I think when you have an axe, you'll find an egg and it'll have a skateboard in it. In 1, I think the weapon eggs went from axe to fireballs, and the fireballs are fucking shitty. Like, they go farther, but they're slow and they fucking suck. But sometimes you'll find an egg with a skateboard in it, and if you pick it up, Master Higgins instantly gets on this skateboard, and I love that he's got a helmet on. Even though it's back in like the caveman era, it'll instantly transfer his ball cap. Transform his ball cap into a skateboarding helmet, and then the skateboard just auto scrolls and go, and you can pull back on it and slow it down, but it's still auto scrolling. Or you can push forward and that thing will fucking move. And it's such a catch-22 because I usually pick the skateboard up. Because while I agree with you, Rock Chalk, that it does make the game like 5 times harder, the 2 pros to the skateboard are that 1, you go faster, which when you're in a game where your health bar is your timer and it's constantly decreasing, you need to get to the end of the level as fast as possible. The skateboard will do that. And 2, the skateboard at least will give you an extra hit. If you hit an enemy or something on the skateboard, you don't die. You just lose your skateboard and keep going. So even if you only use it for like 10 seconds and beat like a very small portion of the level, you at least made up a little bit of time, and then you hit the enemy and you're like, well, I didn't die. I lost the skateboard that I was having trouble with anyways, and I just left 10 seconds of the level behind and barely lost any health. To me, the big negative to the skateboard is the platforming. Dude, there's some levels where it's going to make you jump over like clouds from one cloud to another, or you're going over the water, or even just jumping from platform to like landmass to landmass across the pits. And that can be fucking brutal on the skateboard. Brutal. Like think the original Super Mario Brothers. Not Mario 3, but the original Super Mario Brothers. Now imagine you put Mario on a skateboard where he can't stop. He can't stop moving. And then put yourself into one of the levels where like fucking Lakitu is throwing those spiky guys at you or whatever the fuck. Like, you're gonna die. That it's bullfuckery, that skateboard. But I usually grab it because A, he looks cool, and B, it speeds you up and at least eats up a little bit more level quicker. That's pretty much all I know of the original NES game. Maybe there's more power-ups or enemies later in the game, but I can't get far enough into that one to really know. And if I'm not mistaken, and I might be wrong, if I'm not mistaken, the first one doesn't even have continues. At least the second and third one come with continues. But the first one, like, no password system, no nothing. Just classic NES tough. Fucking beat it or die, and you will die. Not that long a game. It's fucking vicious. So I can't even get close to beating that one. I will someday. Mark my fucking words. But I can't right now. Now, I want to talk about the improvements to Adventure Island 2 and 3, because I really think when you look at the initial Adventure Island trilogy, it's very Mega Man-y. Like, Adventure Island 1 is good, but it's very, very tough. You're probably not going to be able to beat it for a while. It's going to take a lot of practice. Adventure Island 2 and Adventure Island 3, I can't beat either of them either, but they are substantially more accessible than Adventure Island 1 is. Like, they really improved on the formula and made them still challenging, but a little bit more fun, and they gave you more power-ups and more items and stuff like that. So, and unlike Mega Man, well, I shouldn't say that. I was going to say, unlike Mega Man 1, Adventure Island 1 doesn't have some bullshit fucking power-up you need to find, and if you miss it, you're fucked. Maybe it does, because I've never beaten Adventure Island 1. Maybe it does have that. But I want to talk about 2 and 3. I still have another retro game ad to sneak in here. I really need a drink of water, and I need to let a sponsor peddle their wares so that I can keep my bills on. So let's get all 3 of those birds killed with one stone, and when we get back, we'll dive into the improvements that came with Adventure Island 2 and 3. Remember, the game will once again return after these messages.
Thank you, Margaret. Okay, now where's Zach? Zach?
On my vacation, I went to Super Adventure Island with Master Higgins battling monster reptiles and a giant skeleton warrior in 25 treacherous levels. We dove over the lava pit, then to the castle to find Genie Jungle.
Super Adventure Island from Hudson Soft, available on Super NES.
Dad! Save
Adventure Island game tips, call 800-82-HUDSON.
So right before the commercial here, I played the original TV commercial for Super Adventure Island for the SNES. 2 quick notes on that. Number 1, I've never played Super Adventure Island. I didn't even know how many other platforms Adventure Island was on. Apparently it's got ties to like an old Sega game and shit. I knew nothing of the history of Adventure Island outside of the NES trilogy. So I do have a copy of I rented Super Adventure Island and I will play it. I do have a copy of Super Adventure Island in my SNES collection, but I still have yet to fire it up. I will cover that one though. After doing this has been fun. We got to cover some Super Adventure Island, so that'll happen. Number 2, if you remember, at the end of that ad, it played a phone number. It was like, for advice on our games, call 800-82-HUDSON. And I literally just called that number while I was letting the break go in there, just to see what would happen. It was 800-82-483-766. And it rang once, and I was like, oh, and then it just played the busy signal. So I'm assuming they're still having people call all these years later. Have you ever used those, like the Nintendo hotline and shit? I know I've told this story on the show before, but we were never allowed to call because they were too expensive. And then my mom and dad got us, or excuse me, Santa. I think it was Santa. It was not my mom and dad, who are not Santa. It was Santa that did this. Santa got us a copy of Batman Forever for the SNES. And we could not figure out how to progress past the first level, because there's a part in the first level where you have to drop down through the floor, and there didn't say how to drop through the floor in the manual. And we tried everything. And for you youngsters, the internet wasn't a thing yet. We tried everything. And then finally we convinced my mom. We're like, we got this game and we can't get past here. Like, we tried every combo, and then we called the hotline, and then they didn't fucking know, and we still got charged. We still got charged for calling the Nintendo hotline, even though they couldn't tell us how to drop through that fucking thing. We did eventually figure it out. It was something weird. It was like down in select or something. It was something fucking out of this world. Anyways, good times. I'm glad so many people are enjoying those retro game ads that we've been sneaking in before the commercial breaks. I love watching them trying to find the right ones. The only problem I run into with those, especially like Xbox PS2 era games, are sometimes they don't say anything. Like, they're just all visual, and they're great commercials, but they're not something I can put into an audio podcast that would even remotely make sense to anybody. So sometimes it can be a little tricky to find one, but I'm glad so many people seem to be enjoying those. I like doing those. Where was I here? Oh yeah, I talked about the other versions. I only ever play. Oh, you know what? No, we'll talk about that afterwards. 2 and 3. That's what we were going to talk about. Was Adventure Island 2 and Adventure Island 3? Jinky Ginny says, rented these all the time growing up. I know I preferred 2 and 3 to 1. The dinosaurs added made it more fun. The skateboard was always a fun power up to get as well. Yeah, so I talked about before the break in Adventure Island 1. Basically, your power ups are the axe that can upgrade to the crappy fireballs, and then the crappy skateboard. And then I think you could get the fairy that would like keep you safe, like invincible for a short time, but I don't remember. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Anyways, beginning with Adventure Island 2 and then expanding on it a little bit more, Adventure Island 3, they had dinosaurs. And obviously, like, other improvements include, like, the music gets better, the graphics get better. Now that I've been replaying them, Adventure Island 2 and Adventure Island 3 only came out a year apart, and they are very, very similar games. Like, they look almost identical. There's some minor additions to the gameplay. Like I said, Adventure Island 3 adds an extra dinosaur, but for the most part, they're very, very similar games. But the jump from Adventure Island 1 that came out 3 years prior to Adventure Island 2, from like a graphics, music standpoint, is fucking crazy. Adventure Island 2 and 3, but 2 adds like an overworld to it, which is fucking awesome. Instead of just playing like a string of continuous levels, you'll beat a level and then it'll take you back to the overworld and show you how close you're getting to the boss. And each world is like its own island. And Master Higgins is going from island to island on this raft. And then every time you get to an island, you can't choose your own order. It's not that Mega Man-y. But at least it shows you like going from like grass world to desert world to ice world, you know, all the cliche platforming worlds. And once you get to a new island, then you watch Master Higgins kind of just jump around that island, going from one level to another, and you can actually see the boss at the end. Like, maybe it's a giant crab, and they'll show like this giant animated crab sitting on this one part of the level, and you have to get yourself there. And even that alone, it's like a big quality of life improvement. And then add, like I said, better looking sprites, brighter graphics, better music, all that kind of stuff. And it adds the dinosaurs, and the dinosaurs. That's the secret sauce of Adventure Island 2 and 3. So beginning in Adventure Island 2, you get these 2 dinosaurs. I don't know what kind of dinosaur they are. Like, I don't know if they're actual dinosaurs or not. Hang on, I got the wiki page brought up here. Are they actual dinosaurs? There's 4 types of dinosaur friends. Blah, 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 blah. And like, what's really cool about them is they're each like a card symbol, like a diamond, a club, a spade, and a heart, which is really rad. And they're in the eggs, just like your weapons are. So now, not only are you breaking open eggs to find axes and skateboards and that fucking eggplant, but you'll just find like a diamond symbol or a heart symbol, and it's so exciting because you're like, oh fuck, it's one of the dinosaurs. And then when you touch it, Master Higgins will ride on one of the dinosaurs. It's a Camptosaurus. Is that a real dinosaur? Oh fuck, it is too. Son of a bitch. I'll be damned. Western North America, that's where I live. I'll be damned. Anyways, so you can get like a blue Camptosaurus, and he's just like a cool looking, I don't know, beefcake dinosaur. Like, he's adorable, but he's fucking cool. And you ride on his back, and he can like whip his tail and shoot out like a little spark. And he can also, like, he doesn't slide when you walk on the ice, which is so big. Dude, the ice levels in these games are fucking brutal. Because, like I've told you guys, your health bar is your fucking timer. So you constantly need to be moving. But one hit kills you on an enemy. And when you get to the ice levels, it's got that cliche every NES game has where the giant icicles are on the ceiling. And they're going to fall when you get close to them. So you need to be running to keep moving to make sure your health bar doesn't run out. You need to get close to the icicles to trigger them falling. But if you're too close, then one of them will touch you when they fall, and one hit fucking kills you. Oh, that blue dinosaur is such a godsend in an ice level, because now you can still run, but he won't slide. And so it makes it easy to stop on a dime and avoid the icicles. Plus, he's got that spark he shoots out of his tail that can kill everything, which is fucking badass. So that's the first dinosaur you can get. And then you can also get a red Camptosaurus, which is just the same, what's the word I'm looking for? Sprite swap. It's just a different color, but the red one breathes fireballs, and he can walk in lava and not get hurt, which is almost more useful than the blue ice one. So those 2 dinosaurs are both just like heroes you didn't realize you needed until you play Adventure Island. Oh my fucking god, they are so helpful. And then you can also get like a pterodactyl thing. This like purple pterodactyl, pink pterodactyl. And honestly, like, the flying is kind of boring. Like, you can fly, and you can fly over most enemies. Like, the levels, that's the other thing. The levels in Adventure Island 2 in particular are very short. So, like, you can get a pterodactyl and get up into the sky and pretty much fly. It's not actually a pterodactyl, to be fair. It's a pteranodon. It's like a skinny looking pterodactyl. It's like a pterodactyl on Ozempic, but you can basically fly over most of the level, and then he can drop rocks on enemies too, which is like, it's handy for dodging, but it doesn't really do a lot else other than that. And then you can get a water dinosaur, which is an Elasmosaurus, and it looks like the Loch Ness Monster, or Lassie. Was that what it was called from Earthbound? Lassie, the big purple dinosaur? But anyway, it's just basically like this big purple dinosaur with like a really chill face, and you can ride on its back, and it makes the swimming levels much easier, which is fucking awesome. So all 4 of those dinosaurs are so helpful. Not only like are they helpful, but they look cool. And as a kid, like, what kid doesn't like dinosaurs? And I think that's frankly, it's the number one reason I think Adventure Island 2 and 3 are better than Adventure Island 1, is because in 2 and 3 you get to ride dinosaurs. And what's really cool about it is if you beat a level with a dinosaur, I was going to say not Adventure Island 1, but I just said Adventure Island 1 doesn't have dinosaurs. When you beat a level in Adventure Island 2 or 3 with your dinosaur, then it takes you back to the overworld, you walk to the next level, and then you have this like awesome item storage screen, and you can store any dinosaur you made it to the end of the level with, or your axe. And then they're choosable to use in a later level, which is fucking sick. So like in the early levels, you can find these like hidden eggs. Oh yeah, I never mentioned that. All the games have hidden eggs. So while you're running through the level and trying not to lose all your health, you constantly want to be mashing attack and throwing your axes, because if you find a hidden egg, you'll throw your axe and it'll just disappear in midair. And then in the second and third games, it'll give you a sound effect too to let you know there's something there. Then you just go there and jump and you'll find a hidden egg. And some of those hidden eggs have keys in them. And if you grab the key, it'll take you to either like a bonus level, or it'll take you to this like massive pterodactyl guy who's like, do you want to skip this island? and you'll just be able to skip the entire island. And if you're speed running, that's obviously the way to go. But whenever I play Adventure Island 2 and 3, I actually never take the option to skip over the islands because I like to use the first and second islands in particular when the game's not too hard to stockpile my dinosaurs. Because you can save more than one. You can have like 3 or 4 of those fire-breathing dinosaurs or the water dinosaurs in your inventory. And then when you get into the later levels where the game's starting to turn the shit up and get hard, you can start taking those dinosaurs you saved in the early levels and bring them into the later levels. And it can save your fucking ass. So I think that's such a great fucking system. And I love the idea that you can save your dinosaurs and carry them on from one level to another, and your axes. And then Adventure Island 3 just expands on that a little bit more. They add another dinosaur, which is a green, I don't know if it looks like a triceratops, but it only has 2 horns. So I don't know what kind of dinosaur it actually is, but it's a pretty cool fucking dinosaur. And when you ride on that one, it can like spin in a circle Sonic style and kill anything that's around you. So it gives you the ability to save that. Like the saving works the same in 2 and 3. As long as you beat a level with a dinosaur or a weapon, then you can throw it into your inventory and take it into the next world. Adventure Island 3 also adds a boomerang, which is like an upgraded version of the axe that you can throw that just obviously takes up more space and can kill more things. And you can actually get invincibility crystals in Adventure Island 3 that you can save and then bring into levels, and they make you invincible for a short time, which is really cool. So love the dinosaur thing. Love the ability that you can like save your dinosaurs and take them into later levels as shit starts to get harder. Adventure Island 2 and Adventure Island 3 offer you continues as well, which in these very tough games is just, oh my God. Compared to Adventure Island 1, who's just like, you died a bunch, fuck you. Now, the problem, though, at least with Adventure Island 2, because I've played more 2 than 3 lately, I can't remember if this was the same thing in 3, but I know in Adventure Island 2, the continues are great, but the two of the big issues I have with, or 2 of the things that make Adventure Island 2 so much harder is if you get to the boss. Oh, and it's really cool if you get to the boss with a dinosaur in these games, that you won't ride the dinosaur and fight the boss with it. You'll actually hop off and the dinosaur will like fight on its own and help you, which is really fucking cool. But if you get to the boss and you die, then like, you remember in Mario 3, if you got to the airship and then if you died, the airship would fly away and then you'd have to like hoof it back. And if you happen to skip a bunch of levels, then you'd have to beat some levels you skipped the first time through to find your way back to them. Well, in Adventure Island 2, at least it's the same. I can't remember if it's like this in 3, but in 2, it's the same fucking thing. If you die on the boss, then the boss gets up and moves to like a different area. And now not like there is no option. Then you have to fucking rebeat the level the boss was at the end of, then walk back to the level the boss is at now, then rebeat that level. And if you game over, you can continue, but say you had like 8 dinosaurs in your stockpile. If you die and have to continue, all your stockpile dinosaurs are gone and you go back to the beginning of the island. And that's why I can't beat Adventure Island 2, because I can get 4 or 5 islands into Adventure Island 2 pretty easily, frankly. But then when I fucking get there, if I die on one of those later islands, I lose all those dinosaurs I stockpiled in the early stages, all the axes I stockpiled, and all the progress I made on that fucking hard island. And it's right back to the beginning with none of the items or anything I stockpiled. And it just is such a difficulty spike. And like, it's almost, I don't know about any of you that have played these games, but I almost find like if I die, it's over. I'm like, I might as well just start the game over. Like, the continue is nice, but how about you let me continue with the fucking stuff I had? And it's like, no, go fuck yourself. Die and start again. They're brutally difficult games. Oh my fucking God. Matt Die Draws said, I had Adventure Island 2 growing up and I loved it. It was so difficult though, I never beat it. The dinosaur power-ups were so cool and unique. Flying around on the pterodactyl, dropping rocks was my favorite. Glad you're finally talking about this one. Me too. I waited too long. I hope my passion's coming through, because this is just one of those, like, these aren't masterpiece games, but these are just 3 games that I think are fantastic. Hidden gems on the NES that I think everybody needs to play at least once. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention. I want to read a couple more comments, and then I'm going to slap scores on these and move them on before I lose my voice. One thing I forgot to mention is there's these goddamn rocks in these games. And even right back to the first one, they all have them. They're these rocks, and they're not that big. They're only like half as tall as Master Higgins' sprite. They're not hard to jump over. But if you don't jump over them, if you touch one, he trips over them. And what the game developers do so often in this game is they'll either like put more of them right one in front of the other, so they're harder to jump across, or they'll put an enemy or a pit or a bonfire on the side of the rock. And so if you jump and you happen to touch that rock sprite, that it's like reverse knockback from Castlevania or Ninja Gaiden. Instead of getting knocked backwards, you hit it and you trip forwards, and then there's no controlling it. You either fall into a pit or touch an enemy or touch a fire or something that's right in front of it. And they get really good at it, especially later in the game, of putting like a rock and then say 4 inches forward on the screen, they'll put another rock, and then right in front of that rock is a fire, and then behind that fire is a snake that's breathing fireballs at you. And so you need to manage to jump over the first rock, land between the two of them in a very narrow space. But if you touch that fucking second rock, you're going to trip forward and hit the fire. But you also need to be dodging the fire that snake is breathing at you. And like, it's incredible what a challenge those stupid, useless rocks that don't move or do anything add to the game. And if you're riding a dinosaur, they can usually destroy the rocks. But if you touch a rock, you lose your dinosaur, which is brutal. Those rocks are like kind of the most obnoxious enemy in the game that you never think to talk about. Those, choking on my own rage here. Those fucking rocks. Damn it all. Silver Archangel said, growing up, my grandparents had an NES, and obviously they were not as discerning in what games they got. One of the games I played there was Adventure Island 3, and it quickly grew to be a favorite of mine. My younger self loved to ride the dinosaurs, avoid changing from Tomahawk to Boomerang. Agreed. Some levels I liked the Boomerang, some I didn't. Sometimes. It's better than Fireball in 1, that's for sure. See how long you can go on a skateboard and feel the tension with your constantly draining health. I could never beat it, though I got near the end a few times, I think. I don't know if these games were truly NES tough, but to my younger self, they definitely were. They're NES tough. I agree. 100%. I'd really enjoy a chance to go back to the 2 games before and try to beat number 3. I think my favorite dinosaur was the Triceratops, though the water dinosaur was the biggest game changer. Cheers. The water dinosaur was a godsend. 100%. I agree with that. And I read that comment, A, because it's just somebody else that grew up loving these games, and 2, Silver Arc mentioned you pretty much just grew up playing Adventure Island 3. I did as well. We would rent 2 semi-regularly, like I said before, and then 1 we'd very rarely play. But my heart lies with Adventure Island 3, and I do think it's the best of the trilogy. And you know when you've played, like if you were to play Mario Brothers 3 on the NES, like if that was like your first NES game and the one you played the most, trying to go back to Mario Brothers 1 can be kind of tough. When I played Adventure Island 3 as much as I did, 2 isn't that far back from 3, but trying to go back to 1 can be kind of brutal. So when I decide to really get serious about the Adventure Island games, and make no mistake, all 3 of these, I've been playing them on my NES Classic. All 3 of these are going to find a way into my actual physical NES collection. Adventure Island 3 is getting pretty expensive. I wish I still have my childhood copy, but I'm going to buy copies of all 3 of these games for my NES collection. I am going to beat all 3 of these. But to anyone listening to this, if you ever decide to set out to play these, I don't believe they're available anywhere, so emulate away. Fucking fill your boots. If you're like, I need to play all 3 of them, start with 1. Because if you play 2 and 3 and you get the dinosaurs and you get the ability to save stuff, and frankly, you get the easier levels, trying to go back to the first one is brutal. But as someone that grew up on 3, now it's kind of like, I do need to beat you, but I need to beat your older brother, your brothers first, so... and then, like I said, I had no idea until I did this episode that these games are available on so many other platforms. Handsome Major Angus McZongo Esquire said, I've only played the first one, very difficult. I never felt in control, whether it was the skateboard or the faster enemies who all one-shot you. The Game Boy version was much more reasonable. I've never played the Game Boy version. I would imagine part of the reason it was more reasonable is because the Game Boy just didn't have the fucking gumption that like the NES did to put more out. Like I'm imagining that was part of why it was more reasonable, because that's part of why these games are so hard, is because you're forced to go fast. But I had no idea these were on other systems. It's fucking crazy. And then it says here, Adventure Island began development as a direct port of the Sega arcade game Wonder Boy, the partial rights to which Hudson Soft obtained from developer Escape. However, the developer had already signed away the ownership, so Hudson created a new protagonist. I had no idea. And then, these games are on other systems like Game Boy and stuff like that. I knew nothing of. I knew nothing of these games. I need to learn more. I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, like, so there's Adventure Island and Adventure Island 2 for the Game Boy, based on the second and third NES games. Super Adventure Island and Super Adventure Island 2 for the SNES. New Adventure Island for the TurboGrafx 16. Adventure Island The Beginning for the Wii. What? Where did that come? I didn't know that was a thing. What? Oh, it was a WiiWare game. Okay. My knowledge of the Wii is not good, so that's interesting. I'll be damned. Anyways, I don't really have a lot else to say. This was like a pure, like sometimes comedians will tell a joke and it'll miss and they're like, that was a joke for me. Every comedian's got at least one that they're like, you know what? I know crowds don't enjoy this joke, but I think this joke is funny. And that's kind of what the Adventure Island games are to me. I know this episode is not going to do massive downloads. I know not everybody listening to the show is like a huge fan of like these games and needed to know more about them or anything like that. But I fucking love Adventure Island. And I've been waiting 375 episodes to show them some love. And damn it, it's time. Love these games. I hope I convinced at least one or two of you to check out, again, just emulate the fuck out of them. I don't give a shit. Give them a chance and see what they're all about. They're really, really fun. Some hidden gems on the NES. Like, I don't think they belong in that S tier of the NES, you know, with the Marios and the Mega Mans and the Castlevanias and the Contras and, you know, those games. But I think they're very competently, like, if you were to put them in that same tier as, like, DuckTales and Chip and Dale in them, like, I don't think I'd have a problem. At least second and third one. I don't think that's a crazy take. Like, they're very, very competent platformers that a lot of people slept on. If I'm going to score, we've done 375 episodes, so I'll score them out of 375. If I was scoring the first Adventure Island, it's a little rough. I'd probably give Adventure Island 1 200 and what's half of 375? 187.5, I think. So I'll give Adventure Island 1 like a 250 out of 375. It's like a 6 or a 7. It's good. It's fine. It's something to do. But I'll give the second one like a 325 out of 375, and I'll give the third one like a 340 out of 375. Like they're really, really good NES games. Highly recommend you check them out. And I promise you, it won't be if I wait 375, I wonder if we'll still be around in another 375 episodes. That'd be episode 750. We'll do Super Adventure Island for episode 750. No, we will do it sooner than later. But that'll do it for this episode. I'm going to play some more Adventure Island music. There it is. And when it's done, I'll basically thank me for being my guest, tell you what's on tap for next week. I don't know why I got the hiccups all of a sudden. Bad podcasting. Shout out some patrons and get out of here and get rid of my hiccups. All right? Thanks for listening, everybody. And that is going to do it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for giving me a call and talking some Adventure Island trilogy. And vastly more importantly, thank you to each and every one of you for listening to this podcast. Whether it was your first Remember the Game or your 375th, there are a million retro gaming podcasts out there, and you flew with us. And we will never, ever forget that. Thank you so much for the support. I appreciate it very much, everybody. If you didn't hate this, leave us a good review, would you? I'm not sure what they accomplished, but we just got a boatload of new positive reviews. And boy, that turned me on my week off. I really appreciated that. Thank you so much, everybody. If you didn't like it, instead of leaving us a bad review, just go find a podcast you like. I've never left a podcast a bad review. Like, I just can't, like, live your life. But I've never, like, listened to a show and then been like, I hated that show. I hated his intro so much that I'm going to take the time to go online and type out a paragraph about what a piece of shit he is. Like, I mean, fill your boots and live your life. But, like, Jesus, just go find another podcast, you fucking weirdos. Or you can leave Spotify comments. You can do that as well. Oh, yeah. And then, of course, we have Patreon. If you like our show, I'm not just asking you money for nothing. $3 a month, fucking hundreds. We're at over 300 expansion passes. We're at 275 game patches. We're at about 150 of our Simpsons show, Purple Monkey Dishwasher with me and Mark McHugh. I'm coming up on about 300 Rambling Idiots, and all 375 Remember the Games are available over there, 100% ad-free. Plus, our Royal Rumble is running right now, all through the month of May. Every day, a new game gets added to the poll. Any game with less than 15% of the votes that day gets eliminated, and the last game standing after all 30 have entered will get an episode of the show. Entry number 20 came in today, and it was Far Cry 3. So the poll is still running wild. We still got 10 days to go. It's been a really good fucking time. Oh yeah, and if you are Patreon, tomorrow will be my Pragmata review. Should be a gooder. Now, before I get out of here, I do want to, and I got to thank some patrons. I do need to plug next week's episode. I wasn't sure what to do. I'm kind of behind on games I'm playing for the show. Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess is going to get an episode, but that's a long game. Oblivion is going to get an episode, but that is a long game. I want to put a Sega Genesis game in soon. I just not quite sure. I've got 2 or 3 I'm looking at. I haven't decided which one it's going to be yet. But I was like, fuck, I need something quick for next week, something easy. And then we haven't done a revisited episode in a while, where we take one of the earliest games we covered back when we did what we were doing and give it another chance on the show. And there was a game we covered in the 40s, I think, which is some of the worst audio of any episode we'd ever done because we recorded it in Fort McMurray in a hotel room before I went to do a comedy show. And the audio is terrible, and the game is legendary, and it needs another chance. So next week, assuming nothing goes wrong, for episode 376, my boy Tyler and I are going to take another look at a little classic called Halo Combat Evolved. Should be a fucking gooder, my friends. I don't even need to replay that one. I played the campaign. I don't know the multiplayer were shit, but Tyler I'm sure does. I know the campaign well, and I'm just excited to take another look at Halo Combat Evolved. So unless we can't get it recorded in time, that'll be next week's episode. Otherwise, I'll raid the Patreon archives, put something up, then Halo, and then hopefully in the next few weeks, you'll get your Zelda Twilight Princess episode at least, and another Sega Genesis game of something. I don't know what yet, but anyways, that's then. This is now. I'm leaving. I got to thank some Patreons and shut this down. Appreciate you all very much for listening, everybody. Have a good one, and I'll talk to you again later. Cheers. So long. Goodbye. Oh yeah, I've been on Twitch a little bit more lately. Twitch.tv, member the game. Not remember. Member the game over on Twitch. I've been mostly playing Battletoads for the NES. Come by and see me yell at that fucking game if you want to. Go Habs, go. Okay, cheers, so long, goodbye. Remember the Game is brought to you by our Patreons. I couldn't puke up all the content I churn out of a week without all of your support. The following people are the senior executive vice president level or higher at patreon.com/remember the game, and as such, I am contractually obligated to say all your names as quickly as I can. And you know what? Thank you very much. Not only for your support and your generosity, but I know that I've been a little bit flaky with some of my releases lately. I've had a lot going on, and I've needed a little bit of time away. And so many of you have just been so fucking nice about it. And just know we really appreciate it on this end, okay? That's as nice as I'm going to get. A huge thank you, too. We're going alphabetical order this week, because that's the way the spreadsheet loaded up. Remember the Game Hall of Famer, Slick Motherfucking Rick, Too Much Karma, a dude named Adam A.B. Killing, Adam Blank still isn't reviewed, Mario Galaxy, Aaron Lawson, Adam Blank still isn't reviewed, Crash Team Racing, Adam is not Patrick Waugh. There's a lot of Adam ones in here now. Adam Martinet, A Fridge Too Far. Excuse me. A Fridge Too Far. I've been talking for like an hour and a half straight. Started to lose my voice. The Simpsons impressions aren't going to be good anymore. Agent Booty Pants, Akira's Network, Alex McIntyre, Amanda Hugginkiss, Andrew Wright, Andy Hudson, Angry Ticks, Archangel Otaku, Armin Temzarian's copy of Swank. May I see your copy of Swank, Armin? A-Town, Botfucker, Bartman Forever, Beaver Boy, Beef Dingleberry, Beers of War, Better Mousetrap Guitars, Big Daddy Randall, Big the Cat, Bitch Ass Brian, Biddy, B-Cuz19, Blame the Hoagie Man, B Money, Brandon DeZeba, Brother Retro, Brian Richmond, Bula, Cannon Fodder Games, Can't Destroy Her, Captain Asbury Juice, Captain Black Silver, Carl Not Garl, Catonic Abyss, Caveman Lance, Cesar, Chase Was Cheese, Chris Flurry, Chris Nethercutt, Chris Hill is a scad, that could be anyone's ass, Christian Gabriel, Christopher Britt, Christopher Lee Williams, Chugger22, Cody Donaldson, Cody Thompson, Conebread, Dabs All Day, Jaddy's Chubby Little Secret, Dazeraith, Daniel Cook, Darbles, Darky Frost 11, Darth Skywalter, Dave Thompson, David Schroeder, DBXJ, Decoy Man, Dean Donian, Derek Karen, Devin Collins, Diablo Spartan, Discount Psyop, Dissect That Dan, Dixon Miaz, Donnie the Dude Walter. But I gotta tell you, if you'll all indulge me for a minute mid-rant here, trying to do the names that aren't out of regular order that I've been saying them for years is like trying to brush your teeth with the wrong hand. You wouldn't believe how much this can fuck you up. It's fucking crazy. Where was I here? I think I was at Donnie the Dude Walter. Doogie Bowser MD, Drugs Ben MK, Earl, Eddie D19, Eldest Millennial, Elijah Burns, E-Man Chucker, Eric Hopewell, Erotic Onion Ring, Exotic Chaotic, Fallis No Kiku, Fancy Store-Bought Dirt, Faded Sufferance, Flater Flav, Flinny123, Frank Preeves, Frosty Bear, Thunder Leaps, Fuzzy99, General Fury, G9PSX, Gabe, Game Boy Gannon, Generic Name 238, George Swan, Graham Kennedy, Growlywog, Handsome Major Angus McZongo Esquire, Hego Waffle, Hello Mr. Thompson, High Plains Drifter, Hits Meals, Holmes, Horror Wars Podcast, I Pit My Chance, I am Mr. Carlos, Adi Yellow, Infinity Rage, Isaias, It's That Nerd James, Jake Carter, Jameer Williams, James Juan Francesco, Jason Hoych, Jeff Bergeron, Jeff Leopard, Jerry Jobble Jerry Jabobelson, Timothy, J. Callahan, J. Nasty 15, Joe the Sandman, Johnny from Virginia, John of the Adult Children Podcast, Jonathan Breyer, Jordan, Jort King Keegs, J.R. Bob Dobbs, JSK Fusick, Juris Dr. Mario, Just a Fish, Just Car Pranks, Just James, Jinxie 425, Kevin Monroe, Kia Pup, Landed Turquoise, Legendberry, Leroy Restwich, Little Bunny Fufu 89, Liquor Like Luigi, Lord Longrod Von Hugendom II, Lord Palmerston, Lord Salazar, Lotus, Lucas Shaman, Lugnut, Madam Nutsitch, Makeshift Mallow Magic Money, Marcus Mendoza, Mark Sneed, Matt Babadoo, Maverick Marty, Max Legroom, MacGyver 88, McCracken, Michael Barjudana, Mike Maloney, Mikey Hag, Mild Oatmeal, Mr. Jabroni, Miziru, Monstrous D. Boner, Moby 36, Morgan, Mr. Scorpion, Muffin Man Jr., Monkcal, Musty Beetle, My Left Nut, Nick Creature, No One Cares, Nordak, Northern, Oroku Saki's Gardener, Pee-wee Squitters, Penguin Milk, Phil Lencher, Fill Up My Mouth with Farts, Please Refrain from Tasting the Knob, Postman, Proud Slurm Addict, Queered Al, Yank Your Dick, Quiet Place Queen, Randy Barrage, Redline Arrow Drones, Remember Coda Blaze, he's back in Pog form. Rez Kid 93, Rob Lindsay, Robbie Air, Roger Staubach's Pool Cleaner, Rusher 484, Rush's Dog Walker, Ryan Kinchin, Ryan Perry, Ryan 4664, Sailor Man 82, Sam Carpenter, Savage Boosh, Saxophone, Scary Terry, Scott Brooks, Scotty J, Scotty McGee, Self High Five, Shane's World, Shoeboxer, Sharonic Smith, Sour Goat Face, Spider Cat, Spooky Dookie, Squint, Steve Dulk, Storm Beagle, Stud Still Smash, Super Cyan, Safari Off, T-Bear 87, Tadpole, Ted Explosion, The Big Deal, The $100 Kid Ted Michaels, The Incredible Hooli, The Maritime Musician, The Okayest of Muffins, The Fletchman, The Supreme Chozorizo, Thomas Smith, Thrill Ho, Timmy the Exuberant Turtle, Timothy Sabrinsky, Titan 420, Toby OP, Topher Love, Travis Sanders, 333, Tyler, BOS Rager, Works for Me, Wilco, Wolfgang, Darren, Wolf Magic 21, Wyatt the Surgeon Who Isn't a Surgeon Row, X Maverick X, yes, this rocks, you son of a bitch, why? Tell me why. You heard about Pluto, Zach Shepard, Zamatos, Zane Donovan, Siegfried, and Zombie Exy. Billy, that was a pretty good fucking batch of shoutouts, Roy. That's a nice fucking kitty right there. That was a pretty good batch of shoutouts. Man, these solo episodes are a bitch. I am not good enough to do these. I'll be doing one again tomorrow, I guess, and one on Friday. I don't know what. Jar, shut up. I don't know what I'm doing. Take it easy, everybody. Thanks for listening. See ya.